Hey people, it's me again. So, anyways, one of the things that I wanted to talk about here, as far as that goes, when it comes to um, manifesting your specific person, and it was one of the people, I think it was Mr. Manifester, I can't even remember, it, where you have infinite chances of manifesting your specific person. And one of the biggest reasons why is simply because of the fact that the infinite timelines, infinite realities, dimensions, or whatever you would call it, you know. But think of it as, you know, like the internet itself, like how all of these websites that all exist at the same time, or think of it as like YouTube, that all these videos that all exist at the same time. And if you don't like a certain video, you can change and go into a different video. If you don't like what's on TV, you can change the channel and all that. You don't go around and just grin and bear it, you know. And so it was one of the bigger reasons why they say that circumstances don't matter, was because of that. It doesn't really matter if you've been blocked by your specific person and told to forget about your specific person, you know. But then it was one of those things that a lot of the manifestation coaches is that when you focus more on yourself and treat yourself as a king or queen, and you know, then you have all these other options out there besides your specific person, you know. And it was kind of like the whole birds for land, you know, because when I was manifesting that one specific person of mine, it was like all of these exes of mine had came back at some point, or even guys that I wanted to hook up with but never had the opportunity to do so, or ones that I hooked up in the past but never had the opportunity to do so, you know, for whatever reason it was. Just the whole working on the logistical side of things, because it's like I can't really just go and do that right off the bat, because you know there was just what hours are available and how far they are and blah 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 and all this and that, you know. So it just gets all complicated. So anyways, so one of the things I have to kind of mention here when it came to all of that is trying to remember here. I'm trying to remember here. It was also the fact that that all the ones that came back were the ones that I wanted to come back or had some desire for them to return. And it was the ones that I had no desire to return, you know, any of these other exes or people in my past that I had no desire for them to return, whether if I had left or they had left, you know, they didn't come back, you know. And it was one of the things, you know, if it was your initial desire for them to be back, that intention for them to be back, and don't care how that happens, or you know, because then you feel like you can cross that bridge when you want to, you know, because the fact is your specific person is always going to still be around there, and the only reason if they're not going to be available is if they're not, you know, alive, technically, and not alive, you know. And that's kind of like the thing there, you know, because when it came to that one specific person that I talked about, you know, that he's going to still be alive for another 20 to 50 years if he plays his cards right and quit smoking and all of this and that, you know. So it kind of doesn't really matter to me if I don't have him right now, and just because he has a boyfriend that has the same name as me, and blah blah blah. You know, I have all that time in the world to figure him out. Just as much as with the other SP that I talked about earlier. You know, it's like, you know, the guy from Finland that I talked about. You know, where just because if he has to go back, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of him. He can come down and visit me and all that, or I can visit him and do all of this or whatever. Just as much as that. When it came to that guy, that there's a version of him that where he could have feelings for me, and you know, come to terms with his divorce and all of that. You know, or he felt like he was like single long enough, and he's ready to at least revisit like all the other different potential people like me, just as much as the other guy that I talked about, that if he somehow becomes single again, you know, whether if it's the new boyfriend dumps him for whatever reason, or he dumps him for another reason, for whatever reason, blah blah blah, and all of this, and somehow becomes nostalgic and becomes obsessed with me, blah blah blah, you know. And so that's just like really the thing here is that, you know, I have all, I mean, it's like playing one of those card games, you know, just because of this, just because of that, you know, you have more cards to play, you know. And so anyways, it's like that, you know, if you don't like the cards you've been dealt with, reshuffle the deck. And that's basically what it is when it comes to manifesting. And is, if you don't like the cards that you've been dealt with, reshuffle the deck, become better. Yeah. So anyways, I guess that's probably it. So talk to you guys later.